The Varaxian warship Eternal Vigilance hung in the darkness of deep space, its crystalline hull refracting starlight like a massive prism. High Commander Vextari stood on the bridge, his iridescent scales shifting from deep blue to violent purple, a sign of mounting frustration. For 3 cycles, they had been tracking an anomalous energy signature through this sector, and now they had finally cornered its source, a small human research vessel hovering near the edge of an asteroid field. Pathetic, Vextari clicked his mandibles in disgust. These primitives think they can hide their quantum experiments from the Empire. Prepare to board. The human vessel, barely larger than a planetary shuttle, made no attempt to flee as the Eternal Vigilance's tractor beam locked on. This should have been Vextari's first warning. Dr. Sarah Chen stood calmly in her lab as the ship shuddered around her. Her dark eyes reflected the dance of quantum calculations streaming across multiple holographic displays, hands steady as she initiated the final sequence. To any observer, the equipment surrounding her would appear to be standard research instruments. They would be wrong. The ship's AI chirped a warning, multiple boarding parties detected. Hostile forces will reach the lab in approximately 45 seconds. Perfect timing, Sarah murmured, making one final adjustment. Execute Protocol Infinity. And Miranda? Remember, no matter what happens, stick to the timeline. Understood, Dr. Chen. It has been an honor. The lab door exploded inward in a shower of sparks and superheated metal. Varaxian shock troops poured through the opening, their crystalline armor refracting the emergency lights like living kaleidoscopes. Sarah raised her hands slowly, expression neutral as their weapons tracked her every movement. This is quite unnecessary, she said calmly. I'm just a researcher. The troops parted as Commander Vextari entered, his massive frame nearly filling the doorway. His compound eyes studied Sarah with predatory intensity. A researcher, he repeated, mandibles clicking in amusement. Working on prohibited quantum technologies in restricted space. Your species' arrogance knows no bounds. Sarah shrugged. We're a curious bunch. It's kind of our thing. The commander's scales rippled with anger at her casual tone. Search everything, he ordered. I want every piece of equipment catalogued and contained. This human's experiments end today. As the troops began dismantling her lab, Sarah watched with an air of gentle amusement that seemed to further agitate the commander. His scales were now cycling through shades of red, a sign of dangerous aggravation in Varaxian physiology. You find this entertaining, human? Actually, I find it fascinating, Sarah replied. Your containment protocols for quantum technology are quite thorough. Though I have to wonder, do you understand what you're looking at? Vextari's mandibles clacked sharply. Do not insult our intelligence. The Empire has forgotten more about quantum mechanics than your species will ever know. Is that so? Sarah's eyes tracked a soldier attempting to contain what appeared to be a simple processing unit. The crystal in his containment field flickered briefly, almost imperceptibly. She smiled. Then you must know about the observer effect. Before Vextari could respond, one of his officers approached with a data pad. Sir, preliminary scans complete. No quantum weapons detected. No prohibited technology signatures. Just standard research equipment, mostly outdated by Empire standards. The commander's scales shifted to a confused yellow-green. Impossible. The energy signature we detected. Oh, that? Sarah interrupted. Just a simple resonance experiment. Nothing dangerous. Though I would be careful with that containment field modulator your troops are using. Quantum particles can be so unpredictable when observed incorrectly. Vextari's massive frame loomed over her. You will be detained and questioned. If you are hiding anything. Commander, Sarah's voice took on an almost pitying tone. I'm not hiding anything. Everything is exactly where it needs to be. Including me. The Varaxian leader felt a chill run through his scales, a primitive instinct warning of danger. But looking at the small, unarmed human before him, he dismissed it as ridiculous. This was just another arrogant human who needed to learn their place in the galaxy. Take her to maximum security containment, he ordered. I want her under constant observation. As the troops led her away, Sarah glanced back at her dismantled lab one final time. The quantum processors, now sealed in Varaxian containment fields, pulsed with a barely perceptible rhythm, like a countdown that only she could see. Constant observation, she whispered to herself, smiling. Perfect. The Eternal Vigilance's detention center hummed with energy fields and quantum barriers, state-of-the-art containment technology designed to hold the galaxy's most dangerous beings. At its heart, in a cell meant for Class 5 reality manipulators, sat Dr. Sarah Chen, cross-legged on a suspension field, looking thoroughly entertained by the excessive security measures. Chief Science Officer Ixil watched her through multiple sensor feeds, his crystalline appendages twitching with growing unease. For the past rotation, the human had done nothing but sit there, occasionally humming what their databases identified as ancient Earth mathematical sequences set to music. Fascinating setup you have here, Sarah called out, apparently aware of the observation. Though your quantum field harmonics are a bit off. Must give you horrible efficiency ratings. Ixil's crystals chimed in agitation. He had triple-checked the harmonics himself. They were perfect, as all Varaxian technology was. The prisoner attempts to deceive us, he reported to Commander Vextari. Recommend we begin enhanced interrogation. The commander's scales had finally settled back to their normal blue hue. Agreed. Prepare the quantum resonance chamber. We'll extract whatever secrets she's hiding. In the cell, Sarah closed her eyes and smiled. The quantum resonance chamber was exactly what she had been waiting for. The interrogation facility was a marvel of Varaxian engineering, a spherical chamber lined with pure quantum crystals, each capable of reaching directly into a prisoner's consciousness. No organic being had ever successfully resisted its effects. As the guards led Sarah into the chamber, she studied the crystal architecture with obvious appreciation. Beautiful harmonics, she murmured. Though you might want to adjust your containment protocols for human neural patterns. We can be quite unpredictable. Silence. Ixil commanded, initiating the startup sequence. The crystals began to pulse with otherworldly light, their resonance building toward consciousness-penetrating frequencies. Sarah sat in the center of the chamber, still wearing that infuriating smile. Tell me, Chief Science Officer Ixil, in your studies of quantum mechanics, did you ever explore the concept of quantum entanglement on a macro scale? The crystals reached their peak frequency. Ixil's appendages moved across the control interface. You will answer our questions now, human. What was the true purpose of your research? I am answering, Sarah replied calmly as the quantum energies wrapped around her consciousness. Though maybe a demonstration would be more effective. In that moment, every crystal in the chamber pulsed in perfect synchronization, a harmonic pattern that should have been impossible. Ixil's sensor displays erupted with data he couldn't process fast enough. Fascinating, Sarah commented, as if she were conducting her own experiment. Your quantum crystals are even more responsive than I hypothesized. Tell me, have you noticed any unusual patterns in your ship's quantum field generators since you brought my equipment aboard? Alarm rippled through Ixil's crystalline form. There had been anomalies, tiny fluctuations in the ship's quantum fields, dismissed as statistical noise. But now. Stop this, he commanded, desperately trying to regain control of the chamber's crystals. Whatever you're doing. I'm not doing anything, Sarah interrupted. I'm simply observing. That's the fascinating thing about quantum mechanics, isn't it? The mere act of observation can change the outcome of an experiment. Throughout the ship, quantum field generators began pulsing in the same impossible pattern as the interrogation chamber's crystals. In the detention cells, reality itself seemed to ripple like water disturbed by an unseen stone. Commander Vextari burst into the interrogation control room, his scales a kaleidoscope of alarmed colors. "Shut it down. Shut everything down." "We can't, sir," Ixo's voice chimed with panic. "The quantum field network, it's all connected. It's all entangled." In the chamber, Sarah opened her eyes, which now seemed to reflect impossible dimensions. "You know what the really interesting thing about quantum entanglement is?" she asked conversationally. "Distance doesn't matter. Once two quantum systems are entangled, they remain connected no matter how far apart they are. Even across dimensions." The implications hit Ixo like a physical blow. "The research equipment we confiscated was exactly where it needed to be," Sarah finished. "Connected to your ship's quantum network, integrated with your containment systems, and now." She gestured at the pulsing crystals around her, "fully entangled with every quantum crystal in your facility." Vextari's scales had turned an ashen gray. "What are you?" "Just a researcher," Sarah replied with that same calm smile. "Though I should mention, that resonance pattern you're seeing? It's not just affecting your ship. By now, it's synchronized with every quantum crystal in your entire containment network. And it's about to hit its first major harmonic convergence." As if on cue, reality shuddered. Through every quantum crystal in the ship, through every containment field and energy barrier, a new pattern began to emerge, one that followed mathematics no Varaxian had ever conceived. Sarah Chen sat in the heart of it all, finally looking like what she truly was, not a prisoner, but a conductor orchestrating a quantum symphony that was about to reshape the very fabric of spacetime. Emergency alarms wailed throughout the eternal vigilance as reality continued to fluctuate. In the ship's quantum computation center, Varaxian scientists worked frantically to understand what was happening to their most advanced systems. The quantum crystals, the pride of their civilization's technology, were no longer behaving according to any known laws of physics. Third Science Officer Zaravel's crystalline appendages moved in a blur across control interfaces. Impossible readings from all sectors. The quantum field distortions, they're forming some kind of coherent pattern. Behind her, Dr. Sarah Chen stood calmly between two guards, having been brought to the computation center on Commander Vextari's desperate orders. Her reflection rippled in the crystal walls like a mirage. "Not impossible," Sarah corrected gently. "Just previously unobserved. You're watching quantum entanglement propagate through a crystal matrix on a macro scale. First time that's been done in this dimension, actually. Quite exciting." Vextari's scales had settled into a sickly gray-green. "Fix this," he demanded. "Whatever you've done to our systems." "I haven't done anything to your systems," Sarah interrupted. "I simply created the conditions for them to do something new. Your quantum crystals are magnificent, by the way. The way they maintain coherence at this scale. We theorized it was possible, but seeing it in action is something else entirely." Another ripple passed through reality. On every screen, quantum readings spiked in perfect synchronization. Zaravel's crystalline form chimed in distress. The pattern, it's spreading to other containment facilities in the sector. Every quantum crystal in the Empire's network is becoming entangled. Sarah nodded appreciatively. Quantum teleportation across light years. Beautiful. Though you might want to adjust your containment fields soon. The next harmonic convergence will be much stronger. You planned this, Vextari realized, his massive frame looming over her. Your capture, your equipment, everything. Of course I did, Sarah replied. We needed access to your quantum crystal network. The most efficient way was to let you bring us into it yourselves. Though I have to admit, your security measures were even better than we'd hoped. The quantum resonance chamber. Perfect for amplifying the entanglement effect. Around them, reality rippled again, stronger this time. Through the crystal walls, they could see space itself beginning to fold in impossible ways. The quantum crystals pulsed with patterns that seemed to echo through dimensions. "What are you doing to our dimension?" Zaravel demanded, her scientific curiosity warring with terror. Sarah's eyes reflected the quantum patterns swirling around them. "Creating a bridge. Your quantum crystal network spans the galaxy, maintaining perfect quantum coherence. Do you have any idea what an achievement that is? What it makes possible?" Understanding dawned in Zaravel's crystalline consciousness. "The dimensional barriers are about to become much more permeable," Sarah confirmed. "Your containment systems were designed to prevent anything from moving between dimensions. But once you understand quantum mechanics deeply enough, containment and transmission become the same thing." Another alarm joined the cacophony, this one from the quantum communication network. Zaravel's appendages trembled as she read the incoming data. "Sir, we're detecting quantum signature duplications throughout the network. The patterns, they're resonating with something else. Something from another dimension," Sarah finished. "Specifically, the dimension where the rest of my research team is waiting with our quantum receiver array. Right about now." The quantum crystals flared with blinding light. For a moment, reality itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, through every quantum crystal in the eternal vigilance, through every containment field and barrier, new patterns emerged, patterns that echoed from another dimension entirely. "Beautiful," Sarah whispered, watching as space itself began to fold around them. The first stable quantum bridge between dimensions, created using the very network meant to prevent it. "The physics papers on this will be fascinating, assuming your species is willing to collaborate on the research, of course." Commander Vextari's scales had turned pure white, a sign of absolute shock in Varaxian physiology. You used our entire containment network as a dimensional transport system?" "Not just a transport system," Sarah corrected. "A permanent bridge. One that will revolutionize travel and communication between dimensions. Rather ironic, isn't it? Your most secure containment facilities are about to become humanity's first interdimensional gateways." As if to emphasize her point, the quantum crystals pulsed with a new pattern, one that seemed to echo from everywhere and nowhere at once. Through the crystal walls, they could see other ships appearing, their forms rippling through dimensional barriers that no longer existed. The invasion hadn't been of their dimension, but of their understanding of reality itself. And Sarah Chen, the seemingly helpless prisoner, had conducted it all with nothing more than a smile and an appreciation for quantum mechanics that transcended dimensional boundaries. The quantum dimension bridge had become a reality. Throughout the eternal vigilance, spaces that had once been solid began to shimmer with otherworldly light. Through crystal walls that no longer fully existed in one dimension, the crew could see ghostly images of other ships, other facilities, human ships, emerging through the quantum veil like leviathans rising from a dimensional sea. In the Quantum Computation Center, Commander Vextari watched his empire's greatest achievement transform into something entirely new. His scales had settled into a permanent state of ashen gray as he received reports from across the sector. All facilities reporting the same phenomenon, First Officer Kexti announced, their crystalline form vibrating with anxiety. "The quantum bridge is stable and expanding. Human vessels are, sir, they're appearing inside our most secure facilities. Simultaneously. Everywhere." Dr. Sarah Chen stood at a control interface, her fingers dancing across crystalline controls that responded to her touch as if they had been designed for her use. "Quantum superposition on a macro scale," she explained, not looking up from her work. "Your containment network made it possible. Every quantum crystal in your empire, perfectly synchronized, creating a bridge between dimensions." "Why?" Vextari demanded. "If you had this capability, why allow yourself to be captured? Why not simply attack?" Sarah finally looked up, her expression almost gentle. "Because we're not here to attack. We're here to open a door. She gestured at the swirling quantum patterns around them. Look at what we've achieved together. Your quantum crystal network, combined with our understanding of dimensional mechanics. This isn't a weapon, it's the future of interstellar travel. Through the crystal walls, more human ships emerged. But they weren't warships. They were research vessels, their hulls adorned with scientific instruments and quantum sensors. Each one moved into position with precise coordination, stabilizing the dimensional bridge with their own quantum fields. Zaravel's scientific curiosity finally overcame her fear. The energy requirements for this should be impossible. The computational power needed to maintain dimensional coherence at this scale is provided by your own network, Sarah completed. Your containment systems were already doing the hard part, maintaining quantum coherence across light years. We just repurposed it. Changed the walls into windows. Another ripple passed through reality, but this one was different. Smoother. More controlled. The quantum crystals pulsed with a new pattern, one that spoke of stability rather than chaos. Final sequence initiating, Sarah announced. You might want to warn your other facilities. This part can be a bit disorienting. Before Vextari could respond, space itself seemed to fold. Through every quantum crystal in the Empire's network, a new dimension became visible. Not as an invasion or breach, but as an expansion, reality itself growing larger, more complex, more beautiful. Extraordinary, Zaravel whispered, her crystalline form resonating with the quantum harmonics. The mathematical principles involved, the implications for physics, are revolutionary, Sarah agreed. Which is why we're offering your species a choice. She turned to face Commander Vextari, her expression serious for the first time. We can reverse this process. Return your containment network to its original state, pretend this never happened. Or. Vextari's scales shifted slightly, showing the first hint of color returning. Or we can work together. Your quantum crystal technology, our dimensional mechanics. Think of what we could achieve. This bridge is just the beginning. Through the dimensional veil, more ships appeared. But these were different, vessels of crystal and light, their designs a fusion of Varaxian and human technology. Future ships, Sarah knew, from a future that was now possible. The choice is yours, Commander, she said softly. But consider this, your containment network was designed to keep dimensions separate, to maintain barriers. We've shown you it can do so much more. The only question is, are you ready to stop containing and start exploring? The quantum crystals pulsed around them, their light now a steady, harmonious glow. Through their faceted surfaces, two dimensions existed simultaneously, waiting for a decision that would shape the future of both species. And in that moment, surrounded by the impossible made manifest, Commander Vextari's scales shifted to a color no human had ever seen before, the Varaxian expression of awe. 3 cycles had passed since the quantum bridge stabilized. The Eternal Vigilance, once a prison transport vessel, had been transformed into the first joint Varaxian human research station. Its crystalline halls now hummed with the activity of scientists from both species, studying the implications of their merged technologies. Dr. Sarah Chin stood in what had once been her cell, now converted into a quantum mechanics laboratory. The containment fields that had once held her now served as experimental spaces for testing new dimensional theories. Commander Vextari, his scales now permanently tinted with the iridescent hue of scientific curiosity, stood beside her. Your species deceived us, he noted, though his tone held more admiration than accusation. You let us believe we were the masters of quantum mechanics. Not deception, Sarah corrected, adjusting a crystal matrix. Strategic revelation. We needed your quantum crystal network, yes, but we also needed you to understand why. Look at what we've accomplished in just 3 cycles. Through the crystal walls, they could see ships moving through the quantum bridge, vessels of both species, traveling between dimensions as easily as they once traveled between stars. The Varaxian containment network, spanning the galaxy, had become humanity's greatest gift to interstellar civilization. The other empires are demanding explanations, Vextari said. They cannot understand why we would share such power with, forgive me, with a species they considered primitive. Sarah smiled, watching as a new vessel emerged from the quantum bridge, a magnificent hybrid of crystal and conventional materials, its design a testament to what their species could achieve together. Let them wonder. They'll understand when they see what comes next. In the Quantum Computation Center, Zaravel worked alongside human scientists, her crystalline appendages moving in perfect synchronization with their quantum instruments. The mathematics they were developing went beyond either species' previous understanding, creating new branches of physics that would reshape their understanding of the universe. The quantum resonance patterns are stable across all facilities, Zaravel reported, her crystalline form vibrating with excitement. The dimensional bridge network is operating at 300% above projected efficiency. And the new hybrid crystals. She gestured to a newly installed array of crystals, grown using a combination of Varaxian techniques and human quantum theory. They pulsed with possibilities that neither species had imagined alone. We were both right, and we were both wrong, Sarah mused, studying the hybrid crystals. You had mastered quantum containment, we had mastered dimensional theory. But it took both to create this. She waved her hand at the transformed facility around them. Not a prison, not a weapon, but a gateway to something greater. Throughout the ship, human and Varaxian crews worked together, their differences forgotten in the pursuit of knowledge. The detention cells had become laboratories, the security checkpoints transformed into dimensional observation posts. Even the ship's quantum AI had evolved, merging with human quantum computing systems to create something entirely new. There are still those who fear this change, Vextari admitted, his scales shifting through thoughtful colors. Who believe we should have maintained the barriers between dimensions, between species. Sarah turned to face him, her expression serious. Fear of the unknown is natural. But look at what we've achieved by embracing it. Your containment networks now connect galaxies. Your quantum crystals bridge dimensions. And this. She gestured to the hybrid ships moving through the quantum bridge, this is just the beginning. As if to emphasize her point, a new ripple passed through the quantum network, not a disruption, but a harmony. Through every crystal in the facility, they could see the future taking shape, a universe where dimensions were doorways, not barriers, where different species came together not in conflict, but in discovery. You never needed to contain us, Sarah said softly. You just needed to understand why we look at boundaries and see possibilities. Commander Vextari's scales shifted to that unique color of awe once more. And now, he asked. Sarah smiled, watching as another hybrid ship emerged from the quantum bridge, its crystal hull refracting the light of infinite dimensions. Now we explore. Together. The quantum crystals pulsed one final time, their light carrying not the power of containment, but the promise of exploration. The eternal vigilance, once a prison ship, had become something far greater, a testament to what could be achieved when barriers became bridges, and when those who sought to contain discovered the power of collaboration instead. In the end, humanity hadn't needed to fight the Varaxian Empire. They had simply shown them a greater possibility, and in doing so, had transformed both their species forever.